Now we have seen how to create a room via our dashboard. We are gonna just see how to do the same thing via HTTP as in the sandbox. So if you go to the sandbox endpoint of MediaSFU, and just for a bit of familiarization, um, for all requests you could send to MediaSFU via HTTP, everything is captured in the sandboxes listed here. The only exception is those specifically related to control listed calls, which you get from the telephony endpoints. If I go to the SIP telephony engine and I go to the specific side on SIP call API, all my SIP control related stuff are listed in here. Other than that, every single thing we need to talk about in terms of HTTP requests supported by MediaSFU are covered in the sandbox. Now, the sandbox is just our version of what you probably call Postman. You could use this in combination with the documentation, sorry, the, the developer guide specifically. You could use this in combination of the with the documentation to know how to formulate some of these requests. So uh, if you start from the documentation side, every single documentation has a sandbox which you can run from, or you can just go directly to the sandbox endpoint which has every the sandbox in here. So you're going to start off with the rooms creation as an example, and in here I'll head to the room sandbox. So the typical flow is you have a path to modify the parameters and a path to see sample request. Then finally, testing the API interactively. So in where you have your option to modify the parameters, if you come here, for example, by default, the key areas of interest are the outputs for you, and the sample request. So we have this generated in Node.js, Ocel, and then Dart, and you can just copy this and run this for whatever platform you're running on. So how does this flow work? I'm gonna just say make a change from create to a get request. Once I make a change, it changes whatever I need to add up to a get request. If, for example, I change to say a delete request, it's going to change what parameters I need. And going back to say get, for example, if I change whatever I need to change or provide what I need to provide, and I hit submit, you're going to have a change in the output, just indicating all you need to have in your request payload. So for this, for example, if you need to run this, you're just going to copy this and um, go to your one, just a quick one. You're going to realize that whenever you hit submit, your sample request gets updated. So this now changes to just a replica of this, but for Node.js, for Cal, and then for that. So whenever you hit submit and you have a change in output, you could have ready to use parameters, which still you could just change it or have your flow to dynamically modify what needs to be modified for easy run. So if we head to the test API part, so for us, we are logged in. Also, you have an option to log in to run. You have an option of specifying your API username. This is just my username, and that's going to be your account's username and your API key. Like I described earlier, this is going to be your sandbox key. That's the only key that's going to work in MediaSFU's environment. And all you need to do is to paste the payload you've copied from that side and then submit and run. So that's just a quick view of how to use MediaSFU Sandbox. So let's just try this for a room creation and see how this goes. So I'm going to change this from get room to a create room, and I'll uncheck the plethora of options you can give, but I'm going to turn off the meeting room parameters and then the recording parameters. Most of these defaults to values you have in your dashboard. And even if you don't have anything in the dashboard, MediaSFU's defaults. And the key ones you absolutely need to check are, okay, do I need PCMA if I'm probably operating outside North America and doing SIP calls? You surely need that. Direction of SIP. If SIP call is running, we need to capture the flow of whoever is talking. So at least you need an audio buffer to be captured, or if you want to be safe, and then surely the buffer needs to be captured for telephony agents to run. So when you're using an AI, so you have stuff like this which you could just easily modify and see how it goes. I'm just gonna change my username here and to something as a test. And sometimes the sandbox can be overly restrictive due to checks. You can still just type in whatever values you want in here and run. For example, I want to use a username test name. I'm not getting the ability to get rid of the US there. I'm just gonna modify this first and go back to clear this, or I'll just let me see U tester and I'll just hit submit now, and I'm having the payload. If I copy this and I go to uh, my request parameters, I can still make a change here for whatever I was being restricted on. So for example, I want to make the use of the name um, test name, and now all I need to do is provide my API username, which is test name one. If you're not sure of this, if you go to your dashboard, that is going to be your username update. Then I'm going to grab my API key. For this case, it's going to be my sandbox key. I'm just going to head in here and then grab my uh, my sandbox API key. So back to my sandbox, I'm going to paste this here and I'll submit and run. So just as a first demo, I'm going to just probably use some dummy name and to show the flow of the response. So if I do submit and run, in this case, it comes up as invalid credentials from the response data, and you get a status code as 401. Just an indication of how that works. If I'm to correct this and properly run it, get rid of this. Then um, I do submit and run. I have a response from MediaSFU which says my room is successfully created. Now, at a higher level, you have a public URL, which is a link you can just copy and paste in the browser. I'm going to do that just now as a demo. And if you're probably doing an iframe embedding, this just comes for you to embed. If you are communicating with MediaSFU's SDK, it kind of takes care of all of this. Just give it your API key and username, and then just creates the room and then do the joining for you. If you're building from scratch and you need to establish separate connection to MediaSFU, then you have things like the link, the endpoint that this is running from, the secrets, and the secure code. So particularly for the host to make sure they control the room and your room name, which is very key. So you take a look at the public URL, it's just a combination of your room name and your secrets. And that goes for join request as well. Just probably the public URL link secrets without a secure code, but all the relevant parts are returned. So As a quick demo, I'm just gonna grab the link now and paste in my browser. So, so if I go to, I paste this and I hit enter, it takes me to my meeting environment, as you can see currently. Now, if you see the participants currently, it's just me as in the test name. Um, there's nobody else in here. So if you probably want to join this, which I'll illustrate with I am maybe making a call request. I do know the meeting room. Just go back to the sandbox. I know the room name is SME. Is this? I'm gonna grab this and then go up here and then change from a create request to a join request, and I need the meeting ID. So and then the name to join, I'm gonna use uh, tester join. So when I do submit, it's going to give me the payload. Now this time around, I'm not going to run it in the sandbox. I'm just going to do a call request as a demo. So this is the populated cell I need. I'm going to just copy this and go to VS Code Online. And in here, I'm going to put a new text file, which I'm going to paste this. And for MediaSFU's authorization bearer flow, you realize it has a dummy of APIs and it is to colon API key. So it expects your API username and API key provided. All you need to change in all of the code samples format is replace your API username and your API key. So going back to my dashboard, I'm gonna copy my sandbox key again, and then in here I'm going to replace my API key with that. Then my API username is just going to be my account name, test name one. Okay, so with this, I can make a request to MediaSFU to join the room. Okay, so let's just take a look at how we run this. So in the git bash, I'm going to paste this in there and then just hit enter. And we have a response. Let me just zoom in. We have a response from MediaSFU, particularly in same format, the room name, success, and then most particularly the link to join the meeting. So I'm going to grab this public URL, copy this, and then I'll go to my tab again and paste this in there. Sorry, I probably didn't catch all the link. Let me just go back to my VS Code again. So once I grab the correct link and paste back in my URL, I go to the meeting interface. Now if I check on this, I have the host who is in there, test chain. Probably just gonna change the displays to show everyone. So display, show participants. And when I save, I'm gonna see that there is myself and then the host, which is the test name. So um, for example, on this site tool, I'm just gonna change the display to show all participants, and you're gonna see yourself as the host and the other participants. So from here, you can just, as demonstrated, do your controls, um, start your mic, and it will just follow accordingly. So that just demonstrates how you want uh, make a request to MediaSFU to join or create a room via the sandbox or programmatically like we see already seen the dashboard, or programmatically making a call or other forms of requests. So I will just end this to conclude the demonstration of the sandbox. So I'm just going to end this room.